What happens when admiration stops looking like admiration and starts looking like a pattern so precise that people begin asking whether coincidence can possibly explain it anymore? That is the controversy exploding around Meghan Markle. Because although Meghan Markle never personally met Princess Diana, the comparisons have followed Meghan Markle for years. And this story argues that those similarities are no longer appearing as isolated little moments. They keep resurfacing in photographs, poses, clothes, public appearances, and carefully shared glimpses of private life, creating a trail that critics insist looks increasingly deliberate. Princess Diana built a global legacy over decades, and now every time another familiar image appears. Another question follows. Is Meghan Markle simply influenced by an iconic woman connected forever to the family, or is Meghan Markle consciously reaching into that legacy whenever attention matters most? The source presents 10 examples, but the first clue begins somewhere almost absurdly ordinary. A birthday celebration, a swimming pool, and one photograph that suddenly made an innocent-looking moment feel anything but innocent. The birthday content initially looked playful enough. There was dancing in a kitchen, rescue dogs wearing birthday hats, and Prince Harry apparently filming while laughter filled what was presented as a spontaneous domestic scene. Nothing about that alone should have caused an uproar, but that was before the final photograph appeared, because the image showed Meghan launching herself into a swimming pool with both arms raised above her, transforming what could have been an ordinary birthday snapshot into the detail that immediately seized attention. The controversy was not simply that somebody jumped into a pool. It was the pose, the timing, and the unmistakable visual familiarity critics believed they had seen somewhere before. Then came the black and white photograph, Meghan suspended above the water, arms thrown upward, the image frozen at exactly the kind of dramatic instant designed to be remembered. Suddenly, the birthday album was no longer being discussed only as birthday content. People started comparing. People started looking backward. And once that process began, the supposedly carefree photograph acquired an entirely different meaning in the eyes of critics. There were balloons, a plastic tiara, bacon cooking, and all the ingredients required to make the celebration feel intimate and unpolished. But the source's argument is that carefully presented spontaneity can still be presentation. Online observers focused on the airborne pose, particularly the raised arms and body suspended over the water, and interpreted the photograph as an intentional callback rather than an accidental resemblance. That interpretation turned one birthday picture into another chapter of the larger controversy, because critics were not looking at the photograph in isolation anymore. They were connecting it with everything that came before and everything they believed would come afterward. And just when the swimming pool controversy seemed dramatic enough, the story moved somewhere even more unexpected. Disneyland. Meghan Markle took the children to Disneyland, and what initially appeared to be harmless family material quickly generated another round of comparisons. Mickey ears appeared. A Little Mermaid cake appeared. The outing was presented as 2 days of happiness and family fun. Yet buried among those memories was another image that royal watchers believed carried an eerie visual echo. Once again, the argument was not about one random photograph. It was about repetition. How many similarities can appear before people stop calling them similarities and start calling them choices? The photograph showed Meghan on a Disney ride, and observers rapidly placed the image beside an older photograph showing Princess Diana riding with Harry and William. Critics highlighted the angle and pose, arguing that the resemblance was too obvious to ignore. Perhaps any single visual similarity could be dismissed. Perhaps two could still be coincidence. But the entire force of this controversy comes from accumulation, because each new comparison makes the previous one look less isolated. The moment royal watchers circulated the photographs side by side, the Disneyland outing stopped being discussed purely as a family trip and became evidence in an online debate about whether a public image was being consciously constructed from visual memories belonging to somebody else. But the next example pushed the controversy somewhere far more sensitive, because the story moved away from rides and birthday photographs and toward memory, grief, family history, and a grave. A summer album included beach photographs, a pool moment, Archie playing pilot inside a cockpit, and images that seemed like ordinary pieces of family life. Then viewers noticed children walking along a tree-lined path at Althorp carrying flowers toward their grandmother's grave. That alone carried enormous emotional weight. Yet only a few slides later came another image. Meghan standing on a beach in a black backless swimsuit, cap on, hand resting at the hip, looking toward the water. And suddenly royal watchers were remembering another photograph, entirely the famous 1997 image of Diana walking walking along a beach in Saint-Tropez. That juxtaposition is where the questions became sharper. A grave visit followed inside the same collection by a photograph that observers interpreted as visually reminiscent of Diana was inevitably going to attract scrutiny. Unlike an image secretly captured by photographers, the source emphasizes that this material was deliberately posted to a personal account. That distinction fueled the criticism because viewers argued that posting meant there had been an opportunity to see, select, arrange, and publish the images. Whether the resemblance was actually intentional remains interpretation, but online reaction treated the combination as another piece of an increasingly provocative pattern. And that pattern was about to become much bigger, because the next controversy would move beyond private photographs and holiday imagery entirely. It would unfold during humanitarian work surrounded by displaced families and genuine suffering, where the central question would become far more uncomfortable when the cause is supposed to command the spotlight. Why did critics once again believe they were seeing the shadow of Diana? And that uncomfortable question exploded during the humanitarian visit to Jordan, because what should have been an impossible moment to turn into celebrity imagery became, according to critics, another stage for the same comparison. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry embarked on a 2-day humanitarian visit involving displaced families, a refugee camp, a hospital, and a WHO roundtable, with the trip announced at midnight local time on Wednesday, February 25th, according to People. The couple attended a WHO roundtable in Amman with donors and humanitarian partners before visiting the Questscope Youth Center at the Zatari refugee camp, where tens of thousands of displaced Syrians were living. Children played soccer, medical evacuees from Gaza represented the devastating reality surrounding the visit, and cameras documented everything. Yet commentators focused relentlessly on Meghan, arguing that instead of disappearing behind the cause, she appeared visually positioned at the center of another humanitarian narrative associated in the public imagination with Diana. That was the accusation hanging over every photograph. Was this compassion being documented, or was an iconic royal image being consciously echoed again? The criticism became vicious. Commentators accused Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of attempting another imitation royal tour and claimed Meghan was cosplaying Diana, interpreting the trip not as an isolated humanitarian appearance but as another clue in the larger pattern. The source's argument is deliberately provocative. Humanitarian work should leave suffering people as the story. Yet critics believe the imagery surrounding the trip shifted attention toward the celebrity carrying it out. Whether those motives can actually be proven is another question, but the suspicion itself became part of the story. And before that argument could cool down, another visual comparison arrived from somewhere completely different, a glossy magazine shoot. Meghan landed the cover of Harper's Bazaar's art issue with a stripped-back presentation intended to appear authentic, but the timing immediately attracted scrutiny because the cover arrived only weeks after a state dinner at Windsor Castle attended by Princess Catherine and King Charles. Critics portrayed the contrast brutally, the royal world continuing without her while she appeared in a major magazine from California. One commentator described her circumstances as a dramatic downgrade, contrasting her former royal position with selling jams, jellies, dog biscuits, and candles. Yet the real controversy was hidden inside the photographs. One black and white image showed her sitting cross-legged on the floor, wearing a white shirt and black trousers, and observers immediately compared that pose with a 1990s Princess Diana photograph. A celebrity portrait photographer discussing how major editorial shoots are prepared argued that such productions involve editors, art directors, references, clothing, poses, and extensive planning, insisting the similarity would have been recognizable during the shoot itself. Suddenly, organic authenticity was facing another uncomfortable question. How organic could something be when viewers believed they had already seen the composition decades earlier? Then came March 2021 and the Oprah interview, perhaps the most emotionally loaded comparison yet. Meghan arrived for the enormous American tell, all wearing a bracelet that once belonged to Princess Diana, while Harry publicly connected his own experience with what happened to his mother. Reports explained that the jewelry was worn so his mother could symbolically be with them, while observers also compared Meghan's expressions with the famous 1995 Martin Basher interview. Critics noticed similarities in presentation, discussed the raccoon eyes, and even questioned whether the dress recalled Wallis Simpson. The interview was supposed to reveal an individual story free from palace control, yet the Diana comparisons were already surrounding it before the conversation had even finished, and the pattern stretched backward further still. During the engagement interview, Harry was asked what his mother would have thought of Meghan. The answer was extraordinary. Thick as thieves, best friends, and over the moon. Before the wedding had even happened, the emotional connection had effectively been established publicly. Commentators later argued that Harry continued seeing parallels between the woman he married and the mother he lost, while reports about the same perfume added another strange layer. Princess Diana could never confirm what she would have thought, but the comparison had already become permanently attached to the relationship, and what happened next would drag that legacy into an even bigger battle over timing, attention, and who had the right to occupy Diana's spotlight.